Hello everybody, Jer here from The View, and yeah, it's been a week, so apologies for no videos during the week. I realised pretty quickly when I got to the States that the time difference wasn't going to work, so it was going to be nearly impossible to get videos out with the work schedule that I had. So 3 a.m. starts and 8 p.m. finishes and time differences, and just crazy. But thanks for understanding, and thanks to everybody who sent me messages during the week. Yeah, very much appreciated. But we're back, and there's no news to talk about except for the game yesterday. So we're going to talk a bit about that and a couple of decisions that were made around the game as well as during the game. And we'll start off with Jesse Marsch's comments this morning about the time wasting that's been going on in the game. There was a comment on the Sky Sports commentary yesterday from the commentators. It's great to see that we get to the Premier League, but yet we still get championship level quality from the commentators. We don't get the Premier League commentators. We get stuck with people like Hitchcock and Don Goodman and some very, very weird comments. Not in a great mood today as they're coming across. I'm trying to be balanced with this and I'm annoyed at a couple of things. So, yeah, there was a comment made by the commentators about the fact that Jesse Marsch had been complaining about time wasting, but Leeds would have to adapt to that now with 10 men and have to do the same when Leeds clearly weren't doing it. And trying to make it out that Marsch was being hypocritical when in fact he wasn't. But standard Sky Sports bias right there when it comes to Leeds. And we'll just talk about the time wasting thing. I mean, I think we saw last week and the week before some stats that had come out saying that the ball wasn't playing the Premier League games, all Premier League games, on average for about 55 minutes out of a 90-minute game. Time wasting has become a huge problem in the Premier League. And the kicker for me and what the big problem is there are mechanics in place to stop time wasting. Bielsa said this 2 years ago. There are rules to stop this. Kicking a ball away is a yellow card in the first minute or the 90th minute. So if Leon Bailey kicks the ball away in the first minute and you're serious about clamping down time wasting, he gets booked immediately. Should have been booked, wasn't booked, gets booked later on the second half for a tackle, should have been sent off. Goalkeeper is the same. A goalkeeper, when he has the ball in his hands, according to the rule book still, has 6 seconds to get rid of the ball. Aston Villa were averaging about a minute from a on the ground kick out and 30 seconds from a ball in hand, which is way over the norm. And if you think about it this way, if Aston Villa have 10 kickouts in the game and the goalkeeper is taking between a minute and 2 minutes per kickout, that's 10 to 20 minutes shaved off the game just from goal kicks. The Premier League have implemented a multi-ball system this season, so there shouldn't be any slowdowns when the ball goes out of play, and yet we're seeing it. And what Marsch said was that they had spoken with the referees committee this week or last week, and they had said that they were going to show an improvement in managing the flow of the game and getting rid of this time wasting. And what we saw from Stuart Atwell yesterday was a typical Stuart Atwell performance. We saw a referee who wanted to make himself the centre stage. Now, I'm not complaining about the result. I'm not complaining about little things. The red card, by the way, both tackles were yellow cards. Whether you agree with it or not, they're both yellow cards. And Sinisterra was stupid. Absolute stupidity to get sent off for something like that. But if you look at the all-round game with Atwell, there's too many stoppages. He bought everything in terms of time wasting. He didn't clamp down on it early enough in the game. He let the game get completely out of hand. Then what Marsch said was that they had been given this promise, and that the referees committee had wasted an hour and a half of the manager's time. It was all the managers in the league, and he said this wasn't his agenda. He didn't go looking for this meeting. The referees committee spoke to all the league managers about this. It was their agenda. And then the first weekend from it, and I watched a couple of games over the weekend, I've got question marks about rule changes and people changing things to suit players, but it clearly wasn't implemented. So if you're going to say something, they really should do something about it. Yellow card for time wasting. As I said, a yellow card for time wasting. I don't understand why it becomes a yellow card from the 70th minute on, but not in the first half. If it's time wasting, it's time wasting. It used to be a straight yellow card for kicking the ball away. And we've seen in multiple games this season where kicking the ball away in the first half doesn't get you anything. Jesse Marsch bounces the ball against Brentford and swears that referee gets a red card for it. But players on the pitch are kicking the ball away and not even getting a yellow card, which is in the rule book, which should be happening. And as I said, this 6 seconds. There's other rules that bothered me at the weekend as well. This whole Erling Haaland hat-trick, Phil Foden hat-trick, and they both get a match ball. You don't. One person gets a match ball, the person who got the hat-trick first. Let's stop pandering here and stop making up rules as we go along to keep big people happy. I'm in a ranty one, and I'm trying to stay balanced. I'm right, we'll get to the good stuff. There is some good stuff. But I've been off for a week, so I've got a lot to get off my plate. Yeah, it really annoyed me. I thought Jesse Marsch was 100% correct in his comments after the game about, the referees committee can't be wasting time of managers if they're then going to not implement what they're saying they're going to do. So I fully agreed with him there. I thought horrendously frustrating game to watch yesterday. But in general, I didn't think Leeds were good enough. In terms of before the red card, we didn't pass the ball well. Some of our passing, I tweeted about it yesterday, some of our passing was dreadful. And the amount of times we gave up possession very cheaply and easily. There's a lack of movement on the pitch. And I take the fact that we were rusty after being off for a month. But there was a lack of quality there. On the plus sides, I thought Tyler Adams and Mark Rocker were excellent in the middle of the park. I thought we looked an awful lot less susceptible to counter-attacks, which we have been. I thought it was nice to see us implement a low block at times as well, which worked really, really well. When Sinisterra was on the park, I thought at any moment he could open them up and score. And we were desperately unlucky on a couple of occasions. And we rode our luck as well. There was a couple of chances for Coutinho in the first half and second half. They could have scored. But it was that kind of a game. It was half chances, really. But I thought the two lads in the middle of the park were excellent. And when we had to knuckle down and try and get a point out of it, I thought the defence were excellent. There was a couple of little Cooperisms in terms of grabbing his shirt. We got away with it, yelled with it, and offside beforehand. Could have been a penalty. But outside of that, I thought Liam Cooper being back in the team made the defence look much calmer. Robin Koch had an excellent game at centre half as well. So there was a lot of positives from a defensive aspect, which has been our weakest aspect, well, for most of the start of the season. Nice to see us get a balance then around attacking. And then talking about the attacking side of it, there was a notable absence in Joe Gelhardt, who was seen on the pitch before the game doing some very, very high intensive work. It looked like he was doing a fitness test. What's come out since the game was that he will actually feature in the under-21s team on Tuesday night, and that he's in perfect health. Jesse Marsch said there was no injury there, there's no issue there. Perfect health. Not performance based either, that he's been doing quite well in training, but they've got quite a lot of players right now who are doing quite well, and that given just style options from the bench, that was a decision made to not have him in the squad and to go with Gnonto and Patrick Bamford on the bench and to start with Rodrigo. There was some stuff yesterday again with certain players aren't doing themselves any favours. I thought Rodrigo was unlucky yesterday, but it was a very much a old school Rodrigo performance. Not in the places you want him to be, not in the box when he should be in the box. You know, going wide too often, filling in holes where people should be doing. Mostly filling in Jack Harrison's holes. I thought Jack Harrison had a very poor game yesterday, and he had a very poor game against Brentford as well. And I tweeted out yesterday, the conversation around wide back Jack Harrison isn't in the England team for me boils down to his performance yesterday and his performance against Brentford. For every great game that Jack Harrison has had this season, he's had these kind of games as well, where the things that he did wrong in previous seasons are starting to sneak back into his game, overcarrying the ball, not passing it quick enough, getting caught in possession, losing possession in key areas of the park for Leeds, and kind of stopping momentum. He needs to move the ball quicker. The games that he had earlier on the season when he did quite well were games where he passed the ball quickly and moved it quickly. So I'd like to see Jackie get back to that. Back to what's made him good this season. It's important to realise why you've got better this season and hold on to that and not revert to type. But there was knock-on effects from that, not being in the right place. I mean, players came out of position and kind of upset it a little bit. But you've got players like Bamford coming through. I think Harrison and Rodrigo will be looking over their shoulders at the moment. I think Sinisterra being out might save Jackie for another week. But Leeds have got some big options next week. You could see the possibility of Bamford starting up front, Rodrigo going into the 10 and Aronson going out wide, or you could see Leeds actually gamble on Crescencio Somerville and start him. For me, when Somerville came on, if you look at Click and Somerville when they both came on, Click ran, covered a lot of ground, did a lot of what I call the dirty work in football, the pressing, kind of lonely man runs, trying to put pressure on the Villa defence. Somerville did very little of it, and he just doesn't do enough for me when he's in the Leeds first team. He is way too good for doing 21s, and he has a swagger about him when he's doing 21s. But then when he gets into this first team, he seems to lose that swagger and look kind of nervous at times, but very much on the periphery of the game, and needs to do more if he wants to cement his place. And he has it. It's not that he doesn't have it. He has the ability. It's just application. And I think there's an option next week. Will Leeds pull the plug and start? Somerville give him a full 90 minutes or at least start the game to see what he can do. And that'll be an interesting one as well. And then you got Gelhardt coming back through. Gnonto being on the bench was an interesting one as well. So he's obviously slightly ahead of him. But, you know, full Italian international. It'd be hard to say why he's not in the team. But we've got options. And it's a good thing. There was a lot of good things from yesterday. Defensive play was really, really good. The options we have on the bench now are really, really good. Even with a couple of niggly injuries during the week of Forshaw and Bamford picking up a knock, we still have options. We've got a solid midfield now. Rocket and Adams looking really, really good. And we've got creative people in there as well. In Sinisterra, we need to knock the silly things out of the game. We gave away a lot of silly free kicks yesterday. Unnecessary tackles. I like the, son of a bitch thing that Jesse says, but I also like the, aggressive nature, but in the right way. Aggressive in a tackle, not leaving the leg in, not giving away silly free kicks and stuff like that. So that kind of stuff has been knocked on the head. Our discipline is poor. We can be physical and we can be aggressive and we can be all the things that Jesse Marsch talks about. without giving away stupid free kicks around the edge of our box and out wide areas. We're causing ourselves problems at times. We don't need to. So there's bits there. But overall, I think a point that we needed. It's a good point at home. We're looking at reversing fixtures that we scored. We could reversing results we got last year, and we didn't beat Villa or get any points off Villa last year. Now we have. So I think we're on course to finish around 12 if we take the points average right now. But it's such a stop-start season. It's a tricky one. But that's my opinion on the game yesterday. It's not much of a news video because there isn't a whole lot of news going around outside of the game. But the time wasting thing for me needs to be sorted out, and the PGMOL and the Premier League need to have a serious think about this. Premier League is the best league in the world because of how fast it is. It's turning into a snail's pace game for me now, and it needs to be looked at. So we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the game. Let me know what you thought we did well, what we didn't do well. Let's try and be balanced about this. Give some good stuff as well as some bad stuff. There's always both in every game. And how do you think we are going into this month? We're looking at Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Fulham in this month, and it's a month where you could potentially pick up 6 to 9 points depending on the game. I think there's another game in there somewhere without looking at it. I couldn't tell you. But I know there's a couple of games in there that we could look at picking up points. So let me know how you think the month's going to go. 6 or 9 points out of 12. What do we think? Let me know. And thanks for watching. I'm back tomorrow morning with some proper news videos. And we're back in the full flow this week because I'm back home. So thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with me. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.